The patrol car was already rolling past the corner when the officers saw her. A little girl, no older than 7, standing barefoot on the sidewalk. Her face was streaked with tears, her small hands shaking as she waved both arms wildly. She wasn't just crying. She was begging. The officer almost kept driving. Almost. But something about the fear in her eyes made him slam the brakes. That decision would change more lives than he could ever imagine. Before the story begins, take a quick second to support stories that remind us of the good still left in the world. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Kindness Story Hub, where one moment of compassion can change everything. The officers stepped out of the car, scanning the quiet neighborhood. It was early evening in a small American town, the kind where people usually felt safe. Officer Mark Reynolds knelt down so he was eye level with the girl. "Hey, sweetheart," he said gently. "What's wrong?" She tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Her chest heaved as she sobbed. Finally, she pointed down the street and whispered, "My mommy, she won't wake up." Those words hit harder than any alarm call. Mark exchanged a look with his partner, Officer Lisa Hernandez. Training kicked in, but so did something deeper. Concern. Fear. Urgency. "Can you show us where she is?" Lisa asked softly. The girl nodded and took off running. She didn't look back to see if they were following. She just trusted that they would. They followed her down cracked sidewalks and past small, tired houses. The girl ran with desperate speed, her bare feet slapping the concrete. When she stopped in front of a rundown apartment building, she froze, suddenly unsure of this one. She whispered. Inside, the air was stale and heavy. The apartment was dim, with a flickering kitchen light. Toys were scattered across the floor. An unpaid bills notice sat on the table. On the couch lay a woman, still, pale, and unresponsive. Lisa rushed to her side and checked for a pulse. "She's breathing, but barely," she said. "We need an ambulance now." Mark radioed for medical support while the little girl stood frozen in the doorway, hugging herself. Her eyes never left her mother. "What's your name?" Mark asked her. "Emily," she said quietly. "You did the right thing, Emily," he told her. "You were very brave." Emily shook her head. "I was scared," she said. "But I didn't know what else to do." The ambulance arrived quickly, and paramedics began working on Emily's mother. They explained she had suffered a severe diabetic episode. If Emily had waited any longer, things could have ended very differently. As they carried her mother out on a stretcher, Emily tried to follow, panic rising again. "Can I go with her?" she asked. Lisa knelt down beside her. "We're going to make sure you're okay," she said. "I promise." Emily had no nearby family. Her mother, Sarah, was a single parent working 2 jobs. Neighbors later said she kept to herself, doing her best to get by. No one knew how bad things had become of that night. Emily sat in the police station, sipping apple juice from a paper cup. Mark sat across from her, filling out paperwork, but he kept glancing up at her small frame, still trembling from shock. "You know," he said gently, "most adults wouldn't have done what you did today." Emily looked at him. "I just didn't want my mommy to die." Those words stayed with him. Sarah survived. Doctors said Emily's quick action saved her life. But recovery would take time. Bills piled up. Rent was overdue. Sarah couldn't work for weeks. When Mark visited the hospital to check on them, he saw the fear behind Sarah's smile. Gratitude mixed with worry. "I don't know how I'll make it," she admitted quietly. "But thank you for stopping." Mark went home that night and couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Emily's tear-streaked face in his mind. He thought about how close they had come to tragedy. And he thought about how easy it would be for this family to fall through the cracks once the sirens stopped. The next day, he shared the story with his fellow officers. Then he did something unexpected. He passed around a coffee cup for Emily and her mom, he said simply. No speeches. No pressure. By the end of the shift, the cup was full. Word spread quickly through the department. Someone contacted a local church. Another officer called a food bank. A nurse at the hospital shared the story with her community group. Kindness began to ripple outward. Within a week, Sarah's rent was covered for 3 months. Groceries appeared at her door. A local mechanic fixed her car for free. Emily received new shoes, a backpack, and books she had pointed at in a store window but never thought she'd own. When Sarah was finally discharged, she returned home not to emptiness, but to hope. She cried when she saw the notes taped to the fridge. Messages from strangers. You're not alone. We're rooting for you. Your daughter is a hero. Emily didn't fully understand why so many people were helping. She just knew that people smiled at her now. That officers waved when they drove by. That her mom laughed more than she cried. One afternoon, Emily visited the police station with her mother. She handed Mark a crayon drawing. It showed a little girl, 2 police officers, and a bright yellow sun overhead. That's you, Emily said, pointing. You stopped. Mark swallowed hard. No, he said softly. You did. Years later, Mark would still tell new recruits about Emily. Not as a lesson in procedure, but as a reminder of why kindness matters. Why paying attention matters. Why stopping matters, because kindness doesn't always look big. Sometimes it looks like a patrol car slowing down. A stranger kneeling to listen. A little girl being brave when she's terrified. Emily grew up remembering that day, not just as the scariest moment of her life, but as the day she learned the world could be kind. That people would show up when she needed them most. And Sarah? She never forgot either. She volunteered at food drives. She checked on neighbors. She made sure Emily learned that kindness wasn't just something you receive. It's something you pass on, all because one crying little girl stopped the police. This story reminds us that kindness doesn't require perfection, money, or power. It starts with noticing. With caring. With choosing to act when it would be easier to look away. You never know whose life might change because you stopped, listened, and helped. And sometimes, the smallest voice can lead to the biggest miracle. So today, let Emily's courage inspire you. Let the officer's compassion remind you. Spread kindness wherever you are. Because one moment of kindness can change everything.